Except for entrance music. I have a list of 99 things, so just say stop.
Stop. I thought you had a...
I do. I haven't edited
our
it
main
yet.
intro. Oh, okay.
I have our main intro, and I got the one we were given. I just haven't edited it yet. I'm being lazy.
Okay. That's fair.
So
I was just wondering.
Just say stop when you're ready.
Stop. No, let's go. Stop.
Okay. Don't know what we're getting here.
This is going to be great.
Plumbing or electrical problems? Is your AC or heater on the fritz?
Not that. Thanks, YouTube. Oh God, it was a tiger commercial. I hate those fuckers. They're the worst. Beer Field.
Tell me what you like. Tell me what you like. Go.
Boom, boom.
Tell me what you like.
Boom. Welcome to Beer Field. I am your host at Beer Field Hop with two P's as always, joined by Beer Field 30 with two nothings. Dan, tell me what you like. Tell me what you like.
I like getting a draft pick for a defense. That's what I really like.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't feel great, but it felt fine. So Dan and I made a trade earlier today.
Earlier today.
He wasn't
like an hour ago.
He wasn't my first choice. Well, I offered it like 6 hours ago.
That's true. You did.
It wasn't my first choice. So in his dynasty league, we still have defenses and kickers because they matter. Kickers more so than the defenses.
Yeah,
but still.
Yes. But still.
So I've had the Bears for a bit, and I haven't bothered to swap them out because it's pretty insignificant. But I don't carry two defenses for most of the season. I don't carry two kickers for most of the season. I pick them up when I need them. Well, my opponent, Nick, who's also competing with me and one other guy for tops in this division, decided to possess, and he had for most of the season. I think he only picked up one to limit my options, but is possessing like 6 defenses right now, which one could argue is poor roster construction, but it is great defense. So my options were the Lions or the Lions or the Lions.
Oof.
Because the Jets had been out there, and I definitely would have went for them, but he picked them up to play defense, and I had nobody I really wanted to cut. So I was waiting for Sleeper to put Darnold to a position where I could IR him. Didn't get there until later. So anyway, in redraft leagues where you have defenses, you should be happy to get really anything for them. And I offered a 4th rounder to another guy that we play with for one of his 2 defenses. And he said no. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I'm not going any higher than that for a defense. I'll start the damn Lions. And I saw Dan had 3, and he's a rebuilding team. Guy that declined it was a rebuilding team too. So I shot it to him. He accepted. Never feels good to give up a draft pick for a defense, but at the same time, that's a 4th round pick that may never mean anything to my roster at all. And he's a rebuilding team that needs lottery tickets and really could care less about the second defense. If he has to pick up and start the Lions to start a defense, even better. He's not trying to win. So
yeah, I mean, it was a very easy, so in context, I saw the trade earlier today because Hopper sent it to me like in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 1 o'clock or something. I think he sent it to me 2 o'clock. I had just gotten to my area. I'm going to do some work. I saw it. I was going to immediately accept it, but I decided to think on the fact that maybe I can get a 3rd for a defense. I went and looked, saw that he doesn't have a defense. I think it's probably a better idea to have, if you're a team that's been competing, maybe I know that you didn't have the idea that you were going to compete this year.
I didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah, I think probably, a few weeks down the line, I think the better way to go about it was to have a defense prepared for that week.
It probably was.
Either way.
Well, and on the flip side of that, right? So I didn't not look, right? I'd actually been looking for 3 weeks. But the only things that were out there were like the Falcons, the Jets, the Lions, whatever. So I was hoping, what I was hoping for is some of these teams that were holding 3, 4, 5 defenses would end up getting into a position where they would drop something a little better for me to pick them up. So I was kind of playing my cards and riding that one out. And it never got there. And I don't have, like, the back of my roster is guys that it's like I could cut, but I don't really want to. Because, like, I picked up Zacchaeus, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's got as good of a chance at anybody at being a leader. He's somebody you want at the back end of a roster right now, right? He's potentially a top wide receiver option on a team. Khalif Raymond, same thing. Not sexy, probably an off-season cut, but right now, top receiving option, top wide receiver option on a team. Kene Nwanu, we'll talk about in a minute. But, I can't taxi him because I picked him up off waivers. So, I mean, there's a bunch of guys sitting on the back end of my roster that's like, all right, these guys have value. I don't just want to cut them. I had already cut the things I wanted to cut to roster them potentially having value. So, I had to wait for Darnold to be IR-able, and just a lot of things didn't break my way on that one. But you're right. It's probably better off to have a second defense and second kicker. And now I do.
I mean, and at the same time, I mean, in a league like this, it's not the worst thing to trade a fourth, as you mentioned.
It may never be anything.
Lottery. It may never be anything for me. What
they are is you're going to draft somebody, and if you have a deep roster.
Funny enough, though, I traded with Ryan this year, I believe, I think we traded players for defense. Him and I made a trade earlier this year that was for the Packers defense that I ended up. I'm just going to pull it up here.
So wait, you've traded 2 defenses this year?
I have. That
is pretty impressive.
Where is it? Yeah, we traded.
While he looks that up,
Packers. It was a part of a Cortland Sutton trade.
There's a Cortland Sutton trade with the Packers.
It was part of the Cortland. So I got Sutton and Mike Davis, and I traded away Hunt, Chark, my 22 third.
Gotcha.
And the Packers defense. This is when I went and acquired Sutton. This is when I was trying to go. I was still thinking I could maybe compete, so I wanted to, redo my team. In hindsight, I probably still, I won't say won the trade, but it's a bit washed. Just Ryan's competing even with none of these pieces because Hunt's on IR, Chark's on IR. I mean, Green Bay's defense it's been great, right? So it's not like it's
especially down the stretch,
a complete wash. But yeah, when you look at Ryan's teams in that 7-2, really needing a receiver. Yeah, it's and then he not being able for him to get Cortland Sutton it's been
yeah. And what I was gonna say is that 4th round pick to me too is just somebody you have to cut in the offseason. And I'm a guy that my team is a team that competed in year 1 and then went into rebuild. And through what I would consider very solid drafting, more so than anything else. Deebo Samuel was somebody I drafted. Cooper Kupp was somebody that I drafted. Matt Stafford was off of waivers. Swift was a draft pick. Gordon's from my original roster. But, I mean, retooling on the fly with some of those. McLaurin was a draft pick. And some of those guys that are carrying me right now, like, there's depth to this roster that, it's like I'm not ready to give up on some of these guys yet. So that 4th round pick, it's like I'm holding it, but that could be somebody I have to cut in the offseason that I don't want to cut.
Yep.
So it just depends. But either way, trade where both sides win because You're a rebuilding team that gets a lottery ticket. I'm a team that's very much going to, barring something extremely catastrophic, be a playoff team. So,
God, I'm looking at Ryan's team, and I really wish he had people I want to trade for. Like
he
there's
doesn't.
Obviously, some players I wish that I won't say I wish that it'd be nice to have, but
Well, it's in
nothing that's going to help the both of us out.
And it's in division for me, so I'm not even looking, you know?
Yeah, I know. That's it's just I'm rooting for Ryan. I love you, but I'm rooting for the Cats and Misfit Toys. This is like Moneyball and fantasy football. How the fuck is this team 7-2? But it scratched and clawed its way to a 20 win.
He's ahead of Nick right now, who should be
I know.
destroying everything.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's Nick's had the worst fucking luck ever, and now his team, like mine, is kind of starting to age out a little bit, and he's got nothing to show for it. Oh god, it's so brutal. Yes, he's had a stacked roster since year 2, and he's yet to make the championship with this team. He hasn't made the championship with this team. Not alone, at least lose one in a heartache. He has yet to make one.
His heartache is a round team. 1 bounce. He's been
bounced 3 years in a row in the first round.
He's the Packers of this league.
Yeah, he is. Oh man, I may look at him. He needs a tight end. I have a tight end. I may have a tight end. We'll see.
I don't, but
I know I have 2 of them. I actually have 3 that are worth it.
I have
but
2.
Anyways,
I have 2
we should
rostered
probably start
right now.
the show.
Well, we already kind of did. That was like subject
we
1.
Should probably move on.
Yeah, moving on to the actual part of the intro. Hey, we're gonna have a show today. We got a couple things on tap. We got some Dalvin Cook to talk about, some Beckham injury news, Chase Claypool. Maybe try to put a flag in some league winners. I got a live report from Buffalo Jacksonville down in Jacksonville last week. Just some of the finer points or not finer points rather, of week 9, and then we'll get into your full week 10 preview, just like we always do. But before we do that, just like every week, we're drinking. I feel like I forgot something. Oh yeah, we're actually gonna have a Sunday live stream this week, by the way.
Yay.
For those that look forward to that or whatever, we'll have a Sunday live stream this week. All the BS is out of the way now.
What's fueling Beer Fueled?
By the way, we had some reports of technical difficulties last week. Was able to figure out what those were. Nothing I could do about it. My hard drive, I have 2, but so when I'm done with the show, it exports to 1, but the temp files from Audacity, because I'm terrible about closing it between shows, didn't clean up on my solid state, so I'd maxed that out, so it stopped recording the second channel. So, anyway, should be better this week. Dan, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Revolution's Thundertaker. This is part of the Deep Wood series. This is last year's. This is an Imperial Rye Stout, Asian bourbon barrels. It clocks in at, I think, 14.5. I had found one of these. I thought I had drank all of them, I think 2 weeks ago, and I've been sitting on it. So, funny enough, and this was in collaboration with Benny, so this is when I was still working for the company. I was talking to a couple guys that do a craft beer and hip-hop podcast out in Chicago. They made a post about drinking. I think they were drinking just Death Star, so just the base of the Deepwood series. And they're drinking out of a 19.2 can. And we got talking, and he asked me what my favorite barrel age is part of that program. And I said Thundertaker. I'm waiting for them to potentially bring this back. I thought it would maybe be a one-off. And the guys from Revolution tweeted back at us saying, "Just keep your eyes peeled," with the smiley face, I believe. So, if you get a chance to get this, and Revolution's pretty
widespread
in terms. It's pretty widespread. I think they are in all 50 states. If you get a chance to see this, though, I highly recommend picking it up. I'll give you guys more of my thoughts later on in the show, but this is one of my favorite bourbon barrel aged.
All right, I can't remember if I've had this on before or not. If I had, it was recent. We're gonna have to switch it up.
Okay, I'll tell you.
I've got Davis County's French Oak.
No, you haven't.
Okay, I talk about this a lot, so I can't ever remember where I talked about it at. All right, so I was gonna drink beer, and then I was full from dinner, and beer is filling, and bourbon is less filling, so we were going bourbon again. So Davis County is from Lux Row, so the same people that make Ezra Rebel, Ezra Brooks Rebel, formerly Rebel Yell, the Blood Oath series. Davis County is their finish line. So they actually have a straight bourbon, but then they have a cab finished, a French Oak, a port, I believe, and then actually just released a double oak variant. So more of their finishing series. This one is 96 proof. Again, this is French Oak finished. This bottle actually came compliments of Dustin Perez, who is their brand rep. They're actually headquartered here out of St. Louis, distilling everything down in Kentucky. Absolutely beautiful facility if you're ever in Bardstown. Dustin's been good to my group, great to me. Hung out with him a lot at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. This is his contribution to the bottle share, and he just said keep it. So I've been drinking on it pretty good. I have a full review about halfway through the show. These bottles run about $35 to $50, so they're really on the affordable side for what they are, and they're very good.
Sounds good.
Is good. Full review later. French Oak, though, I will give you a spoiler, is the most widely heralded of the bunch. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of this stuff we got to talk about. Let's start off with Dalvin Cook. News broke last night. This is a crazy scenario. And this is either going to go really good for Dalvin Cook or like very, 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 very badly.
Yeah, it's such a it's a situation. We'll just say that
it is a situation. There's very much a he said, she said right now in the media, and what it is so I believe Dalvin Cook's side actually broke first that he was the victim of domestic violence and an extortion attempt, that his ex-girlfriend had broken into his house using a stolen garage door opener, maced him and his house guests, and then held them at gunpoint in a hostage situation for several hours while Dalvin Cook tried to defuse the situation. A struggle ensued as she went to apparently mace or something another one of the house guests again, or have a physical altercation with another one of them. A struggle ensued. She fell and cut her nose. The struggle that ensued led to her cutting her nose. And yeah, that was the end. The police were never called. She went back home to wherever. And then, I guess that was the end of it. Except not, because apparently, according to that side of it, she'd been trying to extort money for the last year plus. Now, the flip side of this, right after that, her story came out. There's a civil suit against Dalvin Cook saying that he started it, that she was just there to pick her stuff up using a garage door opener she had been given because they were dating. That she was just there to pick her stuff up, and there was a physical altercation. And her side has come with Instagram messages, as well as pictures. And the pictures I'm going to start with being a little split on, because some of them look really bad, but then you see the ones where it's more cleaned up, and it's like there really is just kind of a little cut on the bridge of her nose. Like there's not, I don't see a lot of swelling there, like she was struck multiple times or anything like that. I don't see, I'm not a doctor either. But then there's like one where she has like what looks like a t-shirt wrapped around her head, and the top of her shirt's all in blood or whatever. And I don't know, I've had cuts on the bridge of my nose before because I wear glasses, and that looks like it's about right where it happened. Those don't lead to that much blood. So Anyway, without taking sides on this could go really good or really bad. Because, obviously if Dalvin Cook is telling the truth, then he's fine. Minnesota protects that sort of thing. If he's not, then he's setting up for a cover-up and victim shaming, and he's done. And we're not going to know.
No.
For a while. Because it is a he said, she said, and court of public opinion, people pick whatever side that they want to believe. His side came out first. Hers came out second. There's definitely a lot of things here that are weird and messy, like why weren't the police involved in either scenario, for example?
Yep.
Why were reports not filed? Why did she travel all the way home if she was struck and had the crap beat out of her? Why would he not report a hostage situation if they were at gunpoint for a couple hours? There's a lot there to unpack and a lot there that we are not going to know. What we do know is that the NFL is not currently planning any type of action at this time. They're going to unpack the facts too. Dalvin Cook is going to play this week. And we'll see how the rest of it unfolds. This allegedly happened last November. So, in season.
Yeah. In which he played majority of, I think he played until the end. I think he missed one game, but it came in a random week. So, I mean, he played, but, he played through whatever trauma, if there is trauma. Again, I agree. There's so much
trauma and or guilt.
or guilt, one of the two. And to me, it feels like it's probably again, we're not experts. It almost feels like they're both embellishing what actually happened, and they're embarrassed by what actually happened. But at the same time, it's like, when there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, I'm sure Cook defended himself, and that's what caused these bruises. But there was a video that got posted. It wasn't an Instagram. It was a recording that someone had posted. And while no faces or anything were showing, which, again, I don't know how true this is, there was no one really saying it wasn't. But you could hear his girlfriend threatening his ex now. It threatened him with a gun. Now she broke in, and you can kind of hear the altercation. It's clear as video. You can see it. They just don't have their faces in. So there's so much.
Well, and apparently his side's collaborated by two witnesses, and you'd imagine there's cameras, and
this was done by a phone, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and you have to imagine, at this point in his career, he may have some surveillance set up.
I'd hope so.
So I would think so. High profile name. He hasn't hit his second contract, so he wasn't making millions yet. But he's going to have some money, endorsements and whatnot. If he has some, I'm pretty sure he does. But
yeah, I'm sure he does.
You would think at that point he would have, cameras and surveillance setups. You would think at some point something would come out. But again, like with you, I mean, maybe he wanted to hold off reporting because he didn't want to, cause her more. Like, he didn't want to piss her off more. Maybe he was a bit fearful that she may retaliate, and the fact that she's military.
Well, and now
some side to that too.
And now the extortion that's going on too, right? I mean, everybody wants to blame the guy in this one. And again, we're not saying one side or the other, which way is true or not, but everybody wants to blame the guy when something like that happens with these hardline domestic violence approaches. It's not unreasonable. She, according to Cook's attorney, has a history of violence. So is it not unreasonable to know that she didn't expect other girls to be there, for example? I'm assuming that's what they mean by house guest, and went off a rocker? Is it a situation where she showed up and he was mad she showed up because there are other people there and it escalated from there? I mean, we don't know. We're not going to know for a little bit. And all you're going to see is what leaks. And what's leaking from her side with the pictures and stuff, that's what you'd want to leak if you're trying to paint it as the other side of it didn't happen. I mean, it's the aftermath, right? And
exactly.
His attorney even said, look, there was a cut on her nose. That's what you see in the aftermath, is a cut on her nose. The pictures where it's cleaned up or anything, there's not swelling. There's not black eyes. It doesn't look like she'd been beaten. So I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm not a doctor. We'll see what happens. Fantasy implications of this are this, right? Everybody's going to run at Alexander Madison, just in case. Everybody already has Alexander Madison, though. He's a handcuff. Kene Nwanu is the other name to know here. He is the Amir Abdullah replacement. Hyper athletic, was never healthy in college, so no productivity. Ran back a kickoff last week. He's a guy that, if for any reason Cook were to be disciplined or miss time, could also get a look, especially in some of the receiving work in the receiving game.
He got kind of lost, with him coming from Iowa State. He got kind of lost behind the David Montgomery train. Obviously, he was a freshman in 16. He came out as a redshirt. He's an older prospect, but
he was hurt a lot too.
He was hurt. And clearly, these are the type of players in Dynasty you want to take a shot on. He's
91st,
hyper athletic.
Yeah, 91st percentile spark score, 4.37 40.
He's 6 foot 210. I mean, he's got relatively decent size. Obviously, you'll never expect him to be anything more than the hype he's getting now. But if things are to escalate with Cook and we start to find out more details, and he does somehow find his way onto the exempt list, or he gets disciplined, or this is a fast track and he ends up like Ruggs. Yeah. By all means.
Yeah, he's the one that's available. But yeah, look at his player profiler page. Guy's hyper athletic. He's got the size you want. Had he been productive in college, this dude would have been a first round pick. Instead, he was hurt most of the time. We'll see. Odell Beckham officially passed through waivers, forced his way out of Cleveland. So a list of teams that are rumored right now for Odell. Packers.
Yep.
Saints.
Yep.
Patriots.
Yep.
The Seahawks are rumored as a dark horse.
Yep.
But the most smoke has really been around Packers, Saints, Patriots.
And it keeps going back and forth. Like we've seen reports of it's going to be New England. Then we saw some reports come out now with the Saints. Devontae Adams has made his pitch. He obviously wants Odell there.
But Green Bay can't really pay him more than veteran minimum.
They should have more than that.
Well, they said because they haven't extended Adams yet, but that doesn't make sense to me because I don't think Adams has any intention of signing an extension.
Right. Right now they got, $6 million right now? I mean, the team that can't ultimately sign him might be difficult to sign him are the Saints. Right now, 1.5 in their salary. Raiders were a team that was rumored. They're at negative right now. Now, a lot of these teams can restructure deals and actually, I'm looking at the wrong here.
Chiefs are also in on him too, apparently. Chiefs, Packers, Seahawks, Patriots.
Yeah.
Saints.
It just depends how it's going to fall into the what teams are willing to throw after Odell for the rest of this year.
So where do you want to see him land from a fantasy standpoint?
Green Bay would be my number one choice for a short term for just this season. It'd be the best quarterback he gets to play with. He gets a very comfortable role playing alongside Adams. Obviously, he'd be the 2 there. But I think it be situations. Some have suggested it'd be one of the best spots that he could go to.
Yeah, I think Green Bay. But if he goes to Green Bay or KC, you're looking at a wide receiver 2. If you want a true 1, he's going to go to New England, but it's going to be low volume. Or the Saints, we'd also expect low volume. I think the Saints are probably near the top of my list from a fantasy perspective because they have literally nobody else, so we should get all of the receiving game work. Opposite Kamara, we've seen them support in that offense, even with Taysom Hill, support Michael Thomas a little bit in the 8 to 10 target range. He wouldn't have to compete with anybody for targets there. The flip side of that, the Chiefs, I think he would complement Tyreek Hill pretty well. Devontae Adams, though, I mean, look, the Packers have are probably going to be the highest volume passing offense here.
You think that they're one of the slower pace offense. It's been very weird this year. They're one of the slowest pace. They're 22nd in passing plays per game.
Really? Where are the Chiefs
they're in
at?
the bottom half. The Chiefs are probably going to be higher, but just given the struggles that they've had, I wouldn't be shocked if they're no matching options with Mahomes. Stupid player. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
The number 2.
Okay.
42.2. The Chiefs, from a volume standpoint, would be the best spot. And we get to kind of see how that role may actually play out. Because Tyreek Hill isn't your traditional one.
No, he's not.
He's a
Beckham
gadget
can be.
player in the perfect offense.
Yeah, Beckham can be, and we've talked about how the Chiefs are too one-dimensional, and I think out of those teams, they have the most incentive to sign him. The Saints competing right now as a bonus. They weren't supposed to. The Chiefs, though, they got to try to right the ship. And we talked a lot on this show about how they've been doing a lot with very little for a couple years, and it's kind of catching up to them.
Well, when you lose, I mean, as much as we joked about the Sammy Watkins era, I mean, he did a lot more than what the production stated. I mean, once he left, I mean, look at the struggles they're facing now. No other receiver can step up into that role. Watkins may not have been able to stay healthy, but when he was, I mean, that's an extra trusted receiver on the field that the defense has to account for. Defenses don't give a fuck about Demarcus Robinson or Mecole Hardman or any of the fucking, Josh Gordon now is completely washed, which, again, don't want to hash that back up. But, I mean, Beckham would provide Mahomes, the best receiving core he's had. Might be the best receiving core he's going to have because the Chiefs draft poorly. And this would ultimately save the Chiefs from another bad draft class by being able to right the ship in a wide open AFC West. They haven't ran away with it. The Chargers haven't ran away with it. And the Raiders are hanging tight. And so is Denver up the heel. So this feels like a Chiefs move. It's about money, right? Chiefs about 2.5. Saints are about 1.5. The Packers got about 6. So they can offer the most in a 1-year deal. It's just, does Mahomes or does Beckham want to go to a top 5 offense and a top 5 passing volume? And what does it change for the Packers if they bring in Beckham? Are they going to now try to, be more up tempo, up pace, right?
Does Beckham want to go somewhere where he's not the guy?
That too. I mean, it's
because he was on a winning team, right? So we know he doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, not a winning team, but a team that was competing. So does he care that much about a team being able to compete, or does he care that much about being the guy and being part of that? Or, he wanted the tandem with Landry. That didn't pan out, but does he care about being the guy, or will he go somewhere and be it? Is he okay with sharing with Tyreek Hill or playing second fiddle to Devontae Adams?
I got to imagine, no. I got to imagine the first thing on its mind is, hey, let's try to revive my career.
And that's where the Patriots and the Saints are going to be attractive.
I mean, he could there. I would much rather pick the Patriots than the Saints. The Saints also have Sean Payton. They offer him, I think, one of the better long-term outlooks. He has to endure this year. He has to endure, Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill's inability to be efficient with their passes. The same way he bitched about Baker, he's going to get even worse with those two. But now he gets to play with Sean Payton. Maybe gets Winston next year. So there's a lot of intrigue, I think, from a career outlook if he decides to re-sign with New Orleans and being able to play with one of the best offensive minds we've had in the last 20 years.
He'd be the guy this year.
He would definitely be the guy. And we know that Michael Thomas's career is probably done in New Orleans, so you don't have to worry about Michael Thomas.
Right.
Not this year because he's done for the year, and probably not beyond because I don't see how the Saints bring him back.
Well, and he'd be the guy in New England too, right? Because we know Jacoby Myers is is a better ancillary piece than he is as a one. So,
I mean, that'd be great for Mac Jones. Again, a lower volume offense, but he's got what was a hyper efficient quarterback in college.
Who's
and
been
what has shown that same.
pretty efficient this year too.
Yeah, he's been great, and you get a guy like Beckham that can, Belichick respects highly. I think the Patriots, and then from a money standpoint, New England's at $7 million. Obviously, he's not going to reach that much. Like, I don't see the Packers or the Patriots offering upwards of that amount.
Ooh.
Which is why I think the Saints and the Chiefs are still very much in play, because Beckham's going to probably take it. He'll want a true prove-it deal. I'll take low money, but I just want to be on the right team for it,
Sure.
so we can get paid next year.
Yeah, well, more of a breakdown with that when he signs, but just some outlooks just in case it happens. I think if it's the Packers or the Chiefs, he's an insta go get it. I mean, he's probably rostered somewhere, but should be an insta go get him.
Seattle feels like the last place he should
No, yeah, with
want to go
Lockett,
to. Low volume and a lot of
mouths for that offense.
a lot of people there to take targets away. That'd be more consolidated, but they don't throw enough.
Yep. All right, let's get into some of the other stuff that's going on around the league. Chase Claypool expected to be week to week with a foot injury. Pat Freiermuth probably going to benefit the most volume-wise from that. They're already down Juju. Should see James Washington on the field some more with this. But Freiermuth is kind of been coming on the last couple weeks. Looking at him as kind of being a next guy up. But James Washington's the other guy to grab as they're down here a bit.
It feels so good from they get a class that a guy like Freiermuth gets lost because of Pitts, but we oftentimes have to endure the rookie tight end struggles in fantasy, and we get two that are blossoming. I mean, Pitts, no one's shocked by because of the historic profile he put together. But Freiermuth on a low volume Pittsburgh offense playing the Heath Miller role and Big Ben's last ride or two.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels good. And, I think in most other years, he would have been the top tight end prospect. Hyper productive for Penn State.
He would have been up there. He's a lot like Cole Kmet to me, where he would have been kind of in that.
I think he's more
2-3
athletic
range.
than Cole Kmet, too.
Now
I think he is.
Now you got me wanting to look that up.
I'm on Player Profiler. I'm going to look it up, too. But
Well, okay. Yeah. Cole Kmet's not bad.
I mean, best comparable for Freiermuth, Hunter Henry. Not a bad
person to be compared.
not a bad
with.
pair. Yeah, not a bad one to have a profile compared to. But hyper efficient. I mean, obviously driven more by touchdown volume. It's still a low volume offense, but
Kmet appears to be a little more athletic.
yeah. I thought he tested. I mean, he hits the marks you want to hit, but he didn't obviously test it at all. He just did the 40. It looks like.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, Josh Reynolds was claimed by the Lions. There's something to pay attention to.
I forgot he asked for his way out.
I forgot that happened as well. But that's something to pay attention to. He's back with Jared Goff. He's easily the most talented receiver there, which low bar, but St. Brown hasn't really panned out the way that we had hoped he would. Khalif Raymond, we know ain't it. Josh Reynolds landing there. Look, he's going to have a chance to show something.
He asked for it, and he wants to have a chance to show that he still has it and that he was worth the draft capital spent on him.
Yeah. I think you got to watch him as a potential guy that goes wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, preemptive ad if you're desperate in the wide receiver position. He's definitely a guy you want to pay attention to there. It's you don't see a midseason release and say they landed well, but a midseason release landing in Detroit with a quarterback he already has chemistry with, not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it only helps the offense. I mean, I know you can say, well, it's going to take away target volume from Hawk. No, it's going to help.
It's going to help.
It's going to help the offense overall be able to sustain drives. Is ultimately what we want from our playmakers is on teams that don't go 3 and out or punt all the time. So
yeah, Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins, full participant in practice on Wednesday. Expected to play in Week 10. We'll get to see the Ravens with their full complements of weapons for the first time.
On Thursday, I love it. It's against Miami. Short week, so we'll see how much Watkins actually runs this week. But I like the fact that in 10 days to in week 11. Hopefully, everything goes smooth for Watkins this Thursday, and we get to see Watkins, Bateman, Brown, with Lamar and Mark Andrews, and the true cast of misfit toys at running back that they have there.
Hey, speaking of misfit toys, Devonta Freeman's looked not bad.
You got to pick him up. I mean, he's...
I have him. I'm starting him. Couple places.
Yeah, him. I mean, he's been good. You got, Jordan Howard for the Eagles. If he's going to command the opportunity share he's getting right now, even in that offense, you got to add him. Benjamin.
Yeah,
with Chase Edmonds out 46 weeks.
Edmonds out. Benjamin's look good, and James Conner isn't going to get the passing work, so he's an add. You got to add J.J. Taylor and Brandon Bolden right now because Stevenson and Damian Harris are both in concussion protocol.
Oof.
Hey, look, I won from the jaws of defeat last week with Mark Ingram and Jordan Howard. Zero RB is alive and well at the moment.
It's been rough. It's been like zero every position. The top quarterbacks in fantasy this year are struggling. The top running backs can't stay healthy. Top receivers, I think, have been kind of up and down, and then maybe not to their own degree. Tight ends have been, Waller and Kelsey and Kittle have been, Kelsey not so much, but Waller has kind of been a bit disappointed, and Kittle's been hurt. Zero everything. Don't draft a player till the 10th round.
Just hold off on
fuck it.
Hold off on
just
all
hold
of
all
that.
your pick because you don't need them because they're all going to get fucking hurt anyways.
A bunch of people limited. Noah Fant activated off reserve COVID list. He'll be back. So cut your Albertos. Eric Ebron's practicing. Running through a few more things here. You already mentioned Chase Edmonds. He's going to miss this week. So
4 to 6 is on IR as we speak. So we'll pick up Benjamin. Connor, his history of not being able to hold upright with any increased volume should Benjamin, the perfect collective, a preemptive ad.
Kicker news, because we spent the whole intro talking about defenses. Let's get some kicker news in here.
Yes, let's do it.
Cowboys signed kicker Larim Hadrulahu. Hadrulahu.
Sounds like
Hadrulahu. Larim Hadrulahu.
Bless you.
The kicker for the Cowboys this week.
Great.
Kamara's day-to-day with the knee injury. Could miss Week 10 against the Titans. Be prepared for that. Mark Ingram would be the guy if Kamara can't go. So pay attention to that one. Mark Ingram, we talked about it a few weeks ago, is on a terrible Texans blocking offensive line, was near the top of the league in yards after contact and avoiding contact. So, Mark Ingram, the efficiency numbers pointed to productive. We've seen him be much better on the limited touches that he's gotten in New Orleans. So, I'm saying Ingram's a running back too with upside easy if Kamara can't go.
Yeah, you may see a little more Ty Montgomery in that Kamara role, if Kamara is to miss time. But this should be Ingram's offense. And then when you have Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian at your quarterback, a low-volume offense, you're going to see an uptick in his production. And we know that Ingram, in short spurts, can handle these larger workloads.
Yep.
And be, decently efficient with them, as we saw. Even with Houston this year, he's been able to rack up yardage. Done in some gross ways, but still, get you those extra ones.
Just saying, the efficiency numbers are good for Ingram. So
yeah. Yep.
If you got efficiency, you need volume or a line that can block for those efficiency numbers to mean more. Sam Darnold, 4 to 6 weeks, going to be placed on IR. PJ Walker will start.
Oof. Rough. Not the downward trend of Darnold to now hitting rock bottom and getting yelled at by Robbie Anderson on the sideline is experiment looks a bit over, even though they're on hook for him next year for like $19 million.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. And while Walker's got some rushing upside to him, it's not like he's there's a lot of excitement there. It's going to be kind of gross in Carolina outside of, probably CMC as he's getting healthier.
Hopkins and Murray still not practicing. We'll have an update on them on Sunday. Colt McCoy looked fine.
Clyde's off of IR, so expect him to.
Ooh, good to know.
Yeah, you may see. Obviously, no more Derek Gore. Darrell Henderson or Darrell Williams is still going to have a role, but expect Clyde, to be back to. I'm assuming his normal work week, one of his normal work weeks.
Chris Carson off of designated to return, not off of IR yet. They're going to watch him throughout the week. He could be starting for Seattle.
Right. Yep.
So,
misread. Might be.
So, a couple backs potentially coming back as things start to get healthy there. Logan Thomas still sore, so you're still rolling NASCAR there. And I think that's probably about it.
Brown hasn't looked. It's AJ Brown. Antonio Brown probably not going to play this week.
Did shed the boot though.
Practicing. Yeah, did shed the boot, so probably next week. Tyler Johnson, for those in need of a wide receiver flex play, should step in as that wide receiver 3 nicely. Especially if Godwin can't go either. If his foot problems, I'll keep him out this week. So,
yep. Sunday's going to be interesting. Be prepared to scramble. Matt Barkley signed by the Panthers.
We're going to scramble just like Matt Barkley. God, Matt Barkley, is he going to find a way to start this year? Oh, boy.
He probably will.
Oh, my God.
Speaking of starting, Mike White is starting this week again after.
Yes.
So,
I love how everybody's excited about Mike White. And here we are, already been known.
Everybody was so disappointed when he got hurt after that first drive, too.
God, I mean, he went down there and scored. I mean, Elijah Moore breakout, first off, yay. And Mike White, I mean, even Josh Johnson.
Yeah.
But Colts are up by a bunch of points. But
Josh Johnson, old and busted. Mike White, new hotness.
New and busted. Looks a little bit better for Zach Wilson once he gets himself healthy. As watching these two other guys, one super journeyman and one soon to be journeyman, be able to be effective in this offense. It doesn't look too grim for Wilson if these guys can be this productive. So don't give up on them just yet.
Speaking of things to not give up on yet, the Bills. That Jags-Bills game.
Yes, you have stories. You were there.
I was there.
You were there.
The place was 90% Bills fans. And they all left disappointed. So that was pretty fun.
I bet it was.
I mean, the flight home out of Jacksonville was 90% Bills fans. I mean, they were everywhere. They travel well.
It's also Jacksonville where it's hard to root for that franchise long term.
Yeah.
There's so much up and down they go through.
It is. Bills were under siege the whole time. Jacksonville's defense really got the job done, but I mean, Josh Allen not bailed out by his receivers a whole lot there either. There were drops that shouldn't have happened, but I mean, he was under fire by a lot. And Trevor Lawrence, the problem with him, he has nobody. There are drops all over the place on that Jacksonville team.
Yes,
he's fine. There was nowhere to throw. There's nobody that could bail him out of anything.
Maybe they should go pick up Odell. Let Lawrence see what a true number one receiver looks like. I'm kidding. But
Josh Allen
was not the best Josh Allen that day.
He was not the best Josh Allen that day.
Had to get one in there.
No, it was deserved.
Just one. We're going to just one. We got enough of them on Sunday.
Yeah, the picks were bad and
when Cole Beasley has 7 catches for 28 yards and he's your leading receiver.
And it was all Beasley too. I mean,
yeah,
they were
swarming. Only 28 yards. And
they were under pressure. I thought Diggs at the end was going to take that game over, and it just never happened.
No, Jacksonville's defense did its job.
It did. Pass rush really did its job, though. That's what disrupted all of it.
Yeah.
Tennessee
Bills are fine. They get the Jets. It'll be great.
Yeah, Tennessee's running backs without Derrick Henry. We got our first look at that. Defense really bailed them out against the Rams, but the running back game, that's what everybody was watching. Deonta Foreman, who I didn't realize was there, was involved.
Yep.
Second in rushing attempts, or third. He was third. But relatively even. He actually led them in rush yards, third in rush attempts, but nobody had more than 10. So 3 backs are splitting the work there. Obviously, Foreman not involved in the passing game. All of that work went to McNichols. So McNichols 10 total touches, Peterson 11, Foreman had 5. Snap counts were the same, but I think everybody was double digits. So gonna have to pay attention to that one going forward. At this point, I would recommend you roster all 3 guys. Foreman was talented. The Achilles injury was kind of his undoing. We'll see. He's a guy that we liked. He does fit the Derrick Henry mold a little bit as a big bruiser between the tackles. We'll see how Adrian Peterson comes along. Jeremy McNichols obviously should still get the receiving work. We like that as a McNichols game because we expected the Titans to be playing from behind. That never materialized. The Rams were out of sorts.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you can you should throw this game away, but in a game that was so lopsided that we were able to see all 3 backs, I mean, McNichols is the one that I expect to have the consistent production, at least the opportunity, maybe not the production, but the consistent opportunity. Peterson's touchdown late in that game saved that day. I'm excited for Foreman, but one of Foreman or Peterson's going to lose out on snaps to McNichols if this Tennessee team starts off slow or gets behind. So unfortunately, I'm going to lean towards the Freeman side for that way. Not to say you shouldn't pick him up. I am not as excited to, but
no, it's not exciting for any of them, in my opinion.
I mean, McNichols 26 snaps, Peterson at 19, Foreman at 12.
So
all double digits. Yes, as you were right. I'm just kind of reading off the stats. I don't know when set snaps were got for these players. I'm still really only.
So I only watched the first half, and Foreman was mixing in, but they had also already kind of had a lead.
Well, they were up. They were up very early.
Yeah,
it was not much of a contest.
But it wasn't all It wasn't all end of game garbage time for him either. He was mixing.
No,
in
it
early.
was not. Yep.
So just
something to look out for, like as you said.
Yeah, it's a thing to watch, right? If Peterson can't.
And he was not efficient.
He was not efficient. He had 2.1 yards per carry. If he can't get it going, then and Foreman continues to, you're going to see they're going to put the best guy on the field as the team that wants to run the football.
Maybe they'll cut him and they'll just run McNichols and Foreman.
McNichols has value, obviously, as a receiving back. So I agree with you. McNichols is the most valuable of the 3 backs right now.
Yeah.
But the other 2.
One I'm most intrigued by. I'm waiting to see how the Peterson.
If you're looking for lottery tickets, look at the other 2.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get McNichols. Foreman, you can actually pick up right now, too. So he's really the only one worth talking about because the other 2 should be on a roster someplace.
Yeah, and I doubt that Foreman even got picked up through this, as people are they were also box score scouting. They're going to just overlook the stats and just maybe think that Foreman got in late. So it's Foreman's probably still available. He lower their waivers, but it's probably still available now. So
yeah. All right, we had a rarity this week.
We did.
George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk were all on the field together. And they all produced.
They were all productive. In a game when they only scored 17 points.
Yep.
They were all productive.
Kittle, 8 targets. Samuel, 9 targets. Ayuk, 8 targets. Kittle and Ayuk had touchdowns. Everybody over 60 yards. Everyone was productive. Just a note, because we've always talked about what happens when they're all on the field together. Apparently the answer for what happens when they're all on the field together is they produce and still lose to the Cardinals by 14 points.
I mean, at one point they were down 31-7. Jimmy G still threw 40 passes, which is something that he doesn't normally throw this much.
You don't want him to.
No, so while we're all glad that all 3 were able to find production, we know where the targets are going to go to moving forward. You're going to probably expect to see 5 to 10 less passes most games. Maybe even more than that. Maybe it's along the lines of 7, 8 to 15. And it might be gross. It might be a full-on committee. It should be Debo every week, but
Debo's got the most after the catch value.
he does. But as we saw, and even in glimpses, all three of these playmakers are great after the catch.
They are.
All of them. They're all big. They're all fast. They excel after the catch.
Yep. Ayuk did
If
lose
all
a
three are
fumble.
healthy in a lowish volume offense, you better fucking hope the Niners are constantly down double-digit points.
Yeah. Ayuk and Kittle did lose fumbles too.
They did. It was it's a great game all around for the Niners, who are in a dumpster fire world of hate and hatred
They're
and grossness.
they're kind of just a total damn dumpster fire.
I mean, at some point, as we all wish, that Trey Lance just can just take the field, get back healthy. This Garoppolo experiment's over with. Just get it over with. And
I think this one might have been more on the defense and the fact that
I know,
the receivers
I know.
lost the fumbles than it was Garoppolo. Garoppolo was fine.
he was fine. I'm just more or less don't want to see Garoppolo anymore. I want to see what Trey Lance does.
Well, it wasn't pretty the one game he did start. So
True, but
all right. Halfway point.
Beer review.
All right, you're drinking the Thundertaker.
Undertaker is an Imperial rye styled aged bourbon barrels from Revolution. 14.5%. You get strong hints of milk chocolate, dark fruit. I get subtle hints of dark fruit, more along the, a cherry standpoint there. A little bit of raspberry. Obviously, with the dark chocolate and the milk chocolate very much taking over. This is a incredibly amazing, boozy, in your face, pretty thick stout. I mean, this is what we want for this time of year as it starts to cool down more and more. We're expected to get snow on Sunday. Wet snow, probably not going to stick, but snow nonetheless, potentially here in the great state of Illinois. So, if like I said earlier in the show, if you get a chance to find this beer, or at least to find the Deepwood series from Revolution, do yourself a favor and go out and buy it if you haven't yet, especially if you enjoy, the barrel-aged stouts. Their entire program from the deep, from Death Star and Right Way to Heaven and Thundertaker to Straight Jacket, which is their barley wine. You need to pick it up. It's all very good.
Sorry, taking some notes here, so I don't have to do it as I'm drinking. All right. Again, I had the Davis County French Oak finished, 96 proof. So Davis County, again, made by Luxrow. So those are the guys that do Ezra Brooks, Rebel Yell, and Blood Oath primarily. They St. Louis owned, but distilled in Kentucky. Davis County is their finished series. So right now, I believe there's 4 bottles in this series. I think it might be 5 now. And this is a French Oak finished. So French Oak, the most highly regarded of the grouping. These run about $35 to $50. On the nose of this one, get a lot of milk chocolate and confectioner sugar. It's very desserty. And that carries to the front. The front end of it is a lot of caramel, creme brulee, some gooiness. So a lot of sweet notes on the nose, a lot of sweet notes as it comes through the palate at the beginning. Very, very sweet up front. From there, it starts to balance out a little bit. You do get some butterscotch and cinnamon before it rolls into a nice kind of like a peppery finish with a bit of little bit of a hug there. So I don't know what just happened.
Uh-oh. What'd you do?
I hit a key and it said I visited an illegal infected website. So spammy shit. Anyway.
Jesus Christ. This is all. Yeah. This is how we all died.
Yeah. Either way, overall, this is an incredible pour. It's one of my favorites. My wife's gotten into it. She really enjoys it. 96 proof. It's easy drinking, a lot of sweet notes up front, but it balances out nicely as it comes through it and really goes into more of a spicy but not dry type of finish. So very, very good balance to this, and a hell of a bargain.
Sounds delicious.
Is delicious. Very delicious. All right. Week 10.
Week 10. Oh, yeah, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
I'm up to bat. All right. Let's go to Thursday Night Football. Baltimore at Miami. Baltimore is 7.5-point favorites on the road. A 46.5 game total, and I'm totally not prepared with the pick 'em in here. Look, Baltimore is going to get their full complement of receivers back. This is a winnable matchup. They haven't looked pretty at times. This is a team, Baltimore's a team that's been struggling to put it all together for the entirety of a game, constantly coming back by double-digit points. When you get a spread this high, especially on the road, this ultimately feels like Miami should cover this 7.5 points. Consensus really likes Baltimore to be able to cover this week. It's against the spread standpoint. Baltimore is just 3-5. Over under, I don't like. The game total is a bit high for Miami offense that may or may not have Tua this week. Percent looked okay at times, but this Baltimore defense isn't as elite as it used to be. But in a short week, I think I'm going to take Miami and be giving 7.5 points. I think this is a closer game than people want it to be.
All right. On the fantasy side of this one, we talked about Devonta Freeman earlier being a league winner. He absolutely is in this one. Miami has been okay against the running back. Actually pretty good over the last 3 weeks, but the leading guys in PPR those last 3 weeks were Keith Smith, and then Zach Moss into double digits, and David Johnson. So not exactly the who's who. Before that, they gave up great fantasy weeks to James Robinson, Leonard Fournette, Jonathan Taylor, Peyton Barber, Zach Moss again, and Damian Harris. So very beatable on the ground, especially if you expect game script to go the way that it goes. Good part about Devonta Freeman getting the majority of the work, especially with Latavius Murray out. It's pretty much game script proof because he is the pass catcher as well. So especially in full PPR leagues, very on Devonta Freeman for the Baltimore Ravens. Rashad Bateman is a guy that I like this week as well. You're going to have Sammy Watkins back, though, so you got to be wary of how that target volume is going to spread out. Bateman has been up there with Marquise Brown as far as in the target share. I think that both guys are very startable this week. I don't want to fade either of them just yet, but if you do have a better option than at least Bateman, I would go ahead and potentially plug that in and wait and see how this shakes out as him and Watkins do play similar roles. On the Miami side, Jalen Waddle has been their highest target getter. We'll watch the status of Tua throughout the week as he's perpetually hurt. Mike Gesicki has been very usable. I would shy away from Myles Gaskin this week. Just enough better options out there to where you should not have to start him. He's been very, very hit or miss. And, outside of a big play to Samaje Perine, last couple weeks, Baltimore has not given up a ton. Really, the only person that's gotten to them is Jonathan Taylor and then a little bit of DeAndre Swift. Everything else has been pretty locked down, so I don't want to trust Myles Gaskin in that matchup.
One quick note before we move on. Baltimore it's been favored by 6 or more points in 4 games this year. They're 0-4 in those 4 games. Moving on. Jacksonville at the Colts. Colts are favored by 10.5 points. 47 is the over-under. Colts are on a hot streak. This offense has been producing a lot as of late. Colts have been favored by 10 or more points twice this year. They're 2-0 in both against the Jets and against Houston. Jacksonville coming off the high of high wins that they were able to do against the Bills and Josh Allen at home, or this time they're on the road. We both don't like 10-point, favorites. The spreads get to this high, a lot can happen that could change.
Hate them.
Happened to Buffalo, but this feels like a game. The Colts are hitting their stride at the perfect time. I like the Colts at 10.5. Again, game total, you really have to hope that Jacksonville can hold their own. The Colts can definitely score enough to get there. They probably don't need to. So I'd probably, lean under and then take the Colts to cover 10.5.
Yeah, on the other side of this for fantasy football, Dan Arnold's been the most consistent fantasy option for the Jaguars outside of James Robinson. James Robinson's still dealing with the heel injury. Check in with him on Sunday. Nobody else really getting enough volume or enough work to lean on. Chenault just 4 targets last week against Buffalo in a game that was never really. I mean, they won, but it was a 6-9 score. It was never a blowout by any means. So not really a whole lot going on the Jacksonville side that I like. Dan Arnold really only because he's been consistent in the state of the tight ends. On the flip side of this for the Colts, Michael Pittman's taken over as the one there. Jonathan Taylor's been on a tear, and Carson Wentz has a good matchup. Jaguars allowing 20-plus points a game in this one. So that's pretty much your chalk tick on Indy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Browns at the Patriots. Patriots are favored by 1.5 at home. 45 even is the game total. Look, this is almost purely a pick-em spread. If Cleveland was at home, this would probably be about a 3 to 4.5 favorites. Patriots are 3-0 against the spread over the last 3 games. They've covered the last 2 games when they've been favored. I like Cleveland in this game, though. I like what I saw from them last week, and while there's a lot more issues than it was just with Odell, and Baker's going to have to prove he can be consistently this good again without now the distraction of Odell. I just don't like Mac Jones at this point. Fucking dirty ass player. Fuck him. Do you see what he did to Brent Burns? Or not Brent Burns, hockey player. Brian Burns?
So I did, but I also buy that since there was a fumble on that play that he was under the impression that he had the ball. Or could have had the ball. There's also something dating back to high school with him, though, too.
Oh, God.
So I don't really know what the beef
Between
is there.
Those two?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I don't really know
back.
So I don't really know what the beef is there. But the explanation that Belichick gave was that there was a fumble on the play, and he thinks that Mac Jones thought that Burns had the football.
I think it was more so the rolling after grabbing the ankle.
I tried to leg lace him.
Deliberately. He looked like he deliberately tried to hurt him. Either way, that's not an actual, real analysis how I feel about the bets of this game.
I didn't like Mac Jones anyway, so it doesn't hurt my image of him any.
I know, exactly. I do like Cleveland. I do like the new look of them. You do got to watch out for Nick Chubb, though. If Chubb, I believe, is in COVID protocol, if he's not able to make it. I think he is vaccinated, so there's a chance. If he has back-to-back days negatives,
he is
fine.
So there's a chance he plays.
If he plays, then I do like Cleveland. If he doesn't, I expect this line to move up at that point.
Dearness Johnson,
and Demetric Felton.
Yeah. They'd be your plugins.
Chubb plays. I like Cleveland. Chubb does not play. I'll take the Patriots and the points.
Yeah, it's really hard to like anything from Cleveland in the passing game. You can like Peoples-Jones if you want to, but they're not getting it done on any form of volume. And the problem with not having volume in fantasy is that it's really, really hard to buy into anything, really. So, for Cleveland, it's whoever's starting at running back for me. It's either Dearness Johnson or Nick Chubb. And, it's a team that stays competitive, but it's a team that, without anything consistent going on in the receiving game, is a little hard for me to get behind. So, that's all I got on them. As far as the Patriots go, Harris and Stevenson are in concussion protocol. We don't know who's going to play. We don't know who's going to start there. What we do know is that you can score on the ground against Cleveland. It's not impossible to do. Dual threat backs do tend to do it well, but you can also run against them. They are giving up touchdowns, 3 in the last 3 weeks. So I like Damian Harris if he goes. If he doesn't go, then I'm on Bolden. Right, Bolden can be a a dual threat back. I think that New England does want to run the football. As far as the receiving game goes, I don't think this is a game script where I'm going to lean towards a Jacoby Myers start or you can start Hunter Henry. He's kind of been getting the better of the two tight ends, but I don't think I'm going to lean towards the Jacoby Myers start in this one, given game script. I suspect this could probably be pretty low scoring.
Agree. Atlanta at Dallas. Dallas is 9-point favorites. 54.5 is the game total. It's the highest on the slate. Dallas, before the game against Denver, was 7-0 against the spread. This is with no double-digit point spreads outside of the Denver game that they just lost. I like this as a bounce-back game for Dallas at home. Going to right the ship. Well, Atlanta's looked better, far better than expected. I think this is where we get to see how Dallas responds after an embarrassment against Denver at home. I will go back to the well because I did bet Dallas this past week because it's hard not to bet on a team that's constantly covering and has looked this impressive. I will go back to the well for one more week, and I'll take Dallas in the 9 points.
Okay, we're on Dallas and who? Forget who they're playing.
Dallas, Atlanta.
All right, Dallas and Atlanta. Dallas, you're obviously going for the running game. Michael Gallup could be back this week, so you'll want to pay some close attention to that and how that is going to shake out. If Gallup is back, you worry a little bit about how he and Dalton Schultz will shake out. Would not necessarily sprint to start Michael Gallup. You're fine with the Dallas running game. You're fine with Dak Prescott. They did underdo it a bit against Denver. You're fine with Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. It's really once you get behind that I'm a little bit of a about. Falcons are finding ways to get it done, but I mean, really, Zacchaeus did it with touchdowns last week, so I'm not running out for wide receivers there. So for them, really just looking Pitts and Patterson in this one.
Love it.
Not a lot there.
Not a lot there. I mean, it's also a bit chalk, almost on both sides.
Yeah, it really is.
Bills at the Jets. Bills are 13-point favorites on the road at 47.5 points. Those are 1-2 when spreads are over double-digit points. Jets are 1-1 or are 2-1 as double-digit point deficits or underdogs. Look, Mike White back, hopefully back. Love the story. Buffalo is one of the best defenses in football. Mm-hmm. They just got embarrassed on the road at Jacksonville. This is their bounce back week. I'm taking Buffalo at the 12 points, or 13, excuse me, and I'll take the 47.5 that the game total is at. Let's fucking ride. All right. Doubling down. This is a pure double down.
Yeah. On the other side of this is a Zach Moss game. Given how I expect the game.
He's a concussion protocol. I don't know if there's any news on an update just yet, but just keep that in mind.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't think he was. Okay, they're missing practice. So, okay. If Zach Moss plays, this is a Zach Moss game. If not, it's obviously a Devin Singletary game because he'll be the healthy one. If Zach Moss goes, though, this is a Zach Moss game. I like the game script for him. I like the way this is going to play out. Against Jacksonville, it was never a Zach Moss game. It was a Devin Singletary game. So, kind of watching that one. But the Zach Moss game out of the gate. Other than that, Josh Allen, like you said, should be a bounce-back game for him. I don't want to run secondary, tertiary pieces out there for the Bills. Although, there's something to be said for target volume. And Cole Beasley was getting it, right? I mean, he led the team in. It was ugly, but I believe he led the team in receiving yards last year. I think he led the team last week. I think he led the team in targets last week as well. So, and he did the same the week before. So, Cole Beasley's getting the volume. So, I guess if you're going to look at a secondary target, you go there. Stephon Diggs is the other story here, and I want to pause for a minute.
Sure.
I guess he did have 85 yards against Jacksonville.
I mean, it hasn't been pretty. I know defenses have been focusing on stopping the deep threat. They've been running a lot of cover 2, trying to prevent Josh Allen and that offense from working more vertically.
It's still fine, though, even though it hasn't been pretty.
Yeah.
It's still okay. So, all right. On the flip side of this, for the New York Jets, what you're really looking at here is what happened against Cincinnati. You got Mike White coming back. He's kind of a gunslinger. The Bills' defense will definitely be a challenge for him. I expect them to try to play with Elijah Moore's athleticism a little bit more here, get him the ball in space, let him try to work it a bit, some short stuff to Jamison Crowder a little bit, who is seeing target volume. He's doing the normal Jamison Crowder thing. 8 of 9 for 84 the last time he was on the field with Mike White, but we saw high target volume again. So either one of those guys is wide receiver 3s. The difference what you're getting out of them is I think Moore has more upside. But we saw Elijah Moore take off with Mike White as well. So just those are the 2 guys that I want from the Jets. Staying away from the running game in this one. While I do think Michael Carter could definitely see some receiving work here, again, the defense is really good. I don't believe they're going to support 3, and I think you have enough running back options given some of the injuries and other players that are filling in to steer clear of Michael Carter, who at least has been on a little bit of a breakout. So,
I mean, he gets back the quarterback that targeted him a shit ton, right? Josh Johnson was not the check down master.
No, but he still had 87
Mike
yards.
White was. Yeah, so, getting Mike White back, who targeted him a shit ton, should make people feel a bit better if they have to roll Michael Carter out there.
It's true.
Saints at the Titans. Titans are just 2.5-point favorites at home. 44.5 is the game total. Titans look like the best team in football at this moment. 4 straight wins
Somehow.
for the last 4 games against all playoff teams from last year. This was a team that came off of their embarrassing loss overtime against the Jets, and then they have written the ship since, and this is with one game since the Derrick Henry injury. This is basically, can the Saints defense contain this offense, and can the Titans defense actually show up against a pretty meh Saints offense? I like the Titans to cover. I'm surprised they're only 3 points or 2.5, depending on which site you use. And the game total, I think, is very juicy to bet the over on. I think this is a very favorable a very favorable matchup to go, I think, over. And I wouldn't be surprised within the next 3 to 4 days that this total rises up to 46, 47 by kickoff on Sunday. So huge fan of the Titans, who are riding a 6-game cover streak right now. 6 games in a row of covering their spread, including all 4 games they were not favored in. So Titans at home and the over.
All right, on the flip side of this one, for the Titans, we mentioned the 3-headed running back duo, if you will. Jeremy McNichols is the guy that trio. Jeremy McNichols is the guy that you want to start. The other 2, I think, Foreman and Peterson, might be a little bit avoidable. McNichols, we know, is going to be involved in the passing game as well. Adrian Peterson should get goal line work, though, so if you want to plug him in, go ahead and plug him in. A.J. Brown will be fine in this one. We have seen receivers kind of getting it done a little bit here against the New Orleans Saints. I don't believe they've had a dud since Washington. Other than that, 15 or more points for the top wide receiver in each game, and those have truly been top wide receivers: Kenny Golladay, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin. Zacchaeus did his with touchdowns, so we'll just ignore that.
And I think he's the slot receiver too.
Yeah.
I don't even think he plays primarily outside. It's gonna be fun to see who Lattimore primarily covers this entire game. He gets to pick between Brown or Julio. So
yep,
have fun, buddy. It's gonna be fun.
Either way, good with AJ Brown. Fine with Ryan Tannehill. On the flip side of this for the Saints, look, Marquez Callaway has been about the only receiver that's had any value. We'll have to see what state Kamara's in. We already talked about Ingram if Kamara can't go. That's about it. They don't have a lot on offense to be excited about.
No, they don't. Bucks at the football team. Bucks are favored by 9.5 points on the road. 51.5 is the game total. This team met up in January last year. It went, I believe the score went under, and we got to see the birth of the Taylor Heineke hype, which has very much cooled down since. Look, Bucks have not been great against the spread. They're sitting there at about 3-5. Washington has only covered one game this year. They have yet to cover when they've been dogs. Tampa Bay coming off the bye week. A little bit banged up, but again, Brady, who's, again, the dude just doesn't seem to ever suck. I'll take Tampa Bay at 9.5. And then I don't like the game total. It's a bit high. And I it's hard to trust Washington with the inconsistencies of how Heineke's been playing and just how that offense as whole has looked. So
Yeah,
Tampa Bay, and maybe I may lean the under.
indeed. Bucks secondary massively improved since the first 3 games. Has not given up a ton, but there's always a but to this. They've also played New England, Miami, Philadelphia, Chicago, and New Orleans. So, Terry McLaurin probably going to be the biggest challenge that they've faced in quite some time here, as far as wide receivers go. It's been a little soft from a wide receiver schedule for them. Taylor Heineke will probably be under siege. Ricky Seals-Jones has been very, very startable without Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas will miss again. And, Antonio Gibson, maybe not. The Bucks have been really good against the run all season.
And he's also been having a struggle coming back from his, I believe it's a foot
shin.
injury.
Shin
Injury that he's struggling to be able to come back from. So,
Yep.
who knows if he even plays. It is a McKissick
It is a
game, though.
McKissick game. That's what I was going to say. We have J.D. McKissick games. This is a J.D. McKissick game. Any game that is a negative game script for Washington is a positive game script for J.D. McKissick. This is a week that you plug in J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick.
J.D. McKissick.
I'm saying J.D. McKissick a lot, huh?
You are saying J.D. McKissick a lot. It's great.
Well,
It happens.
eat it.
Lions at the Steelers.
Hold on.
Okay.
There's
Well, I mean,
still
you
another
pause.
team. There's still another team in this one.
It's Tampa Bay. We know.
Well, you've got Godwin dealing with the heel injury as well without Brown
I
there. You
know.
already mentioned Tyler Johnson as a good start. Keep an eye on that one. We'll have more on Godwin on Sunday. That's it. That's all I was going to say.
Now we have a listener question.
Okay.
The Geek. Welcome to the show. Thank you for jumping in. I don't know if I've seen your name pop up before. He asks, would you trade Michael Pittman and Elijah? I'm assuming Elijah Mitchell. It's Eli Mitchell. I'm assuming Elijah Mitchell.
Gonna be
for
Elijah,
Stephon Diggs. For Stephon Diggs, Damian Harris.
No.
The answer is no. Pittman has been the more productive receiver in redraft this year compared to Diggs. While Diggs had some more, you can say, trusted volume.
I wouldn't even
Pittman's
consider it
become
more
the
trusted.
alpha.
I wouldn't even consider
Yeah.
it more trusted volume at this point. I mean, Pittman, I think, is getting more volume on. I'm verifying that real quick because I just looked at Diggs earlier. He's getting about 7-8 targets a game. Yeah, a little bit more trusted volume there for Diggs, but Pittman's been a lot more efficient with his and has been a lot more involved in the red zone, touchdown-wise specifically. So, and Elijah Mitchell's been very, 49ers are getting healthy at running back. He is not given an inch with Jeff Wilson and Jermichael Hasty coming back.
No, it's his backfield until hurt. And we see Shanahan do this. Once he finds his guy, he will ride said player until the wheels fall off. And we've seen the makings of Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, Carlos Hyde in this Kyle Shanahan offense with the Niners. This is Mitchell's backfield. I get the allure of wanting to try to buy Diggs on the low. Moving Pittman is not the correct move for that, though. Try to find a receiver that maybe like a Marquise Brown, right? Mm-hmm. Brown's going to finally have a whole receiving core of Watkins and Bateman, who's been coming on strong. Maybe time is to move Brown away for Diggs.
You also look at divisional games.
If you had, I'm not saying that you have Brown. But,
you also look at schedule rest of season, and you look at divisional games that still that still have to happen, and kind of like Pittman's a little bit more than Diggs.
Yeah, it's hard for me to want to move off of Pittman right now.
Yeah, because I mean, the best case
hyper-productive.
scenario for this trade is it's a like for like trade. You're just moving pieces to move pieces. There's
true.
not a lot of
Absolutely right.
value difference there. So I guess if you feel like really high on Diggs personally, then maybe. But that's not a trade that I'm making. I'd rather ride with Pittman and
I mean, you're expecting the Buffalo bounce back, right? You're expecting, Diggs and Allen find their second win in the second half. Allen's been fine. It hasn't been as explosive as last year, as I think defenses have figured out how they wanted to defend this offense more so than try to stop Josh Allen. But I get the allure to want to trade or try to buy low on Diggs. I wouldn't move Pittman in that deal.
And I think Damian Harris is a very underrated back as well. I mean, he's been very, very good. Very good here as of late. But is it a lot better than Mitchell? I don't think.
I think
there's a lot that supports
even.
that there. It's pretty close.
You may want to lean to Mitchell at this point if he does become the lead dog.
Mitchell's involved in the
Niners.
receiving game more than Harris is. I think is the big difference there.
Yeah. All right. Great question, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Lions at Steelers. Steelers 8.5-point favorites. 42.5 is the over/under. Look, Detroit's been off and on, kind of competitive in their games this year.
Not last week.
Bears should have won definitely last week against Pittsburgh. I joked and said that I would money line the Bears. I did. I money lined the fuck out of the Bears.
And it almost
They should
worked.
have won that fucking game. They should have won that goddamn game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ref's going to ref. Bears on bye this week, by the way.
Yes, Bears on bye. So Detroit, Pittsburgh. Again, 8.5-point favorites is Pittsburgh at home. Both teams have struggled to cover against the spread. Detroit's at an even 4-4. Pittsburgh, I believe, is 3-5. 3-5 right now. They have yet to cover a game they've been favored in, so they're 0-5, 0-4 when favored. Look, 8.5 is a lot of points for offenses that can't score a lot of points. This is a slower paced team that wants to play defense. I do like Pittsburgh to cover here, though. It's going to be I expect Goff to be under siege most of this game. So Pittsburgh, I'll lean the under here as well. It's going to be gross.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot that's gross here about this game. You start off with the fact that the Lions really don't have a lot of receiving options. That Deandre Swift is their best player. You flip that to the fact that Pittsburgh does not give up a ton in the running game or really the receiving game to running backs. They're very, very good defensively at the front seven. You're looking at a DeAndre Swift floor game, and I don't want to play with anything else other than TJ Hawkinson here because he's TJ Hawkinson. I don't even like that much. On the flip side of this, for Pittsburgh, Najee Harris is a must start. Deontay Johnson is going to get all of the target volume. I don't expect there to be a ton. I am starting Freiermuth because I have to. But this is not a game where I want to go out and get cute with James Washington or anything else. This is a game that Pittsburgh could win relatively handily, and if not, I still don't expect them to have to go full-blown pass-happy and pass-heavy to where you're going to see a guy like James Washington get involved with a lot of volume. So you look at this one, it's Najee Harris. Big Ben's probably an okay stream. He's been all right the last couple weeks, but you're really looking Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth on the Steelers side, and DeAndre Swift on the Lions side, and even then, I'm in a position where I might be able to sit him. And I've strongly considered it.
I mean, you got to hope that just on volume, I can see the allure. I mean, it's got to
pass
be
volume alone, right? But you're going to get a floor game. You're hoping for 100 scrimmage yards, and if you get a touchdown, that's bonus. That's a great week. But you're hoping for 100 scrimmage yards. That's the upside of what you're hoping for. It could be less.
I get wanting to. I would have a Swift is at this point just an auto start, but I do get the pause if somehow, some way you have options to pick from.
I do. Here, I'll let you know what they are.
Well, I mean, I know you do in Dynasty in this league. Yes.
No, this isn't Dynasty. This is a redraft league.
You have a redraft league. That's even more impressive that you've survived running back injuries this much.
Well, it's matchups, right? Because it's also the redraft league where I lost Derrick Henry.
Oh, okay.
So I have Chris Carson potentially coming off of IR against Green Bay.
Ew.
I have Fournette against Washington. And Devonta Freeman in a plus matchup on Thursday night against Miami.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I've got Freeman
Yeah.
and Fournette plugged in at the 2 running back spots. And then I'm going to choose between Carson and Swift come Sunday. I have Ingram as well if for some reason Kamara can't go.
I see it. I'd probably still go Swift at least over. I mean,
Probably over Carson because I'm a little scared of what the volume is going to be.
Yeah.
But if Kamara can't go, it's going to be hard with Ingram.
I mean, even with Freeman, Freeman's, again, it's been touchdown productive. He saw his first game over 50% snap share against Minnesota. It was only 55. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was also involved. The nice thing is that Freeman does get the pass catching work, but it's still Lamar throwing the football compared to check down Goff.
The problem that I have with Pittsburgh though is that in PPR, the only back to go over 13 points is Alex Collins. You had David Montgomery
Alex Collins?
Yeah, you had David Montgomery at 10,
Yeah, he's coming off
Dearness
an
Johnson 9.9, Javonte Williams 11.6, Aaron Jones 12.9, Mixon 10, Drake 10, Singletary 11. And I look at Joe Mixon as the closest comp to what I can get out of DeAndre Swift. It's not very promising.
I guess the better question is, it's from a floor game standpoint, who's more likely to score 10 points then? Swift, Freeman, Carson, Ingram.
Well,
Ingram I can definitely see if
there's no Kamara
doesn't go. Yes. I get that.
Freeman I like because I think there's going to be game script in his favor there.
We hope. And is he the one that gets involved in that game script?
Well, Murray's hurt, so unless it's left Bell.
We don't know exactly, but we don't actually know who gets that because they were trailing Minnesota for the entirety of the game, and both running backs got works. We don't know. I'm not saying don't play. I'm giving you your devil's advocate to it because it's
I'm gonna roll
Swift. We know.
So I know I'm rolling with Freeman. Like let's just put that one
okay.
to bed right now. I know Freeman is not the back that is in question here.
Okay,
I am starting Freeman. He is plugged in.
So you're starting Freeman and Fournette for sure.
I'm
right?
starting Freeman and Fournette for sure because I think Freeman has the upside in that matchup against Miami. I like that matchup. I found something I liked as I'm mixing and matching backs. We're going to leave it there. Jordan Howard's not in question without Miles Sanders with the matchup in Denver. He's out. Chris Carson I'm iffy on because of the neck injury.
Sure.
Mark Ingram, if Kamara doesn't go, is in play. And then DeAndre Swift. There's a very good chance it's Swift unless Kamara doesn't go, and then I got to look at what's the better matchup, and I think that would probably be Ingram.
I get it. I do. Oh, I get. I love it.
It's a tough one, but I mean, look, if I'm going to give some analysis on something, I'm going to do it on the tough ones, and the tough one is that DeAndre Swift, if you got somebody that you think can score more than 10 to 12 points on that you can start over DeAndre Swift, you might want to do it this week. Not going to give that advice a whole lot, but Swift has had a couple games that have been under 10 in full PPR.
Had 2 games.
2.
You're right, 2 games. This past week and against Chicago.
Yep.
I think it's the upside to it too, right? If Pittsburgh does actually get out to a lead, which I'd be shocking to, but again, if Detroit starts off slow, and it may look like 3 quarters of football, Swift may not do shit.
But they're
we know
good. Pittsburgh is in that front side.
Well, on defense, yeah.
Yeah.
But all it needs is, late in the fourth quarter or just in the fourth quarter, all it takes for Swift is one drive, essentially, to get all of that true. I know it hates with that very specific analysis. I know it can be shitty,
but you could make the same argument for that's all it takes with Freeman is one drive.
But
that's all.
I don't expect Freeman to always be in that play over Lev Bell. And we saw that.
What if Jamal Williams plays?
I mean, he did it against San Francisco when they were both running backs did it against San Francisco.
San Francisco's not Pittsburgh on defense.
I know, but they were down by double-digit points throughout the majority of that game. I'm going off of the fact that what if Pittsburgh gets up by double-digit points?
I'm going
Now
off
you're
the
looking
fact
at, okay.
of I'm not making scenarios. I'm looking at the defense he's playing.
Well, sure. I'm trying to go off of more of what could happen in that game, too. Especially if Jamal Williams doesn't play. I mean, I don't know how much Jamal Williams would even affect that. More so that it might be you might just see a little bit more Jamar Jefferson.
What we're doing now is we're making me more convicted in my DeAndre
fine.
Swift is going to dud this week.
I feel like this needs to be. Do we need to do another shot bet? Have we even paid up? Who won the last shot bet?
We paid up, I think. Did we?
I don't remember.
No, it was really bad is what it was.
That's right.
I don't
Oh,
remember.
yeah, I think we both sucked.
It was
We were both to take a shot.
technically I was right. Technically, no, it
You
was really
won,
close. It was
technically.
Marquise Brown versus
Corey Davis, and you won by like
I won by like
4 yards.
4 yards or something like that. So it was
Yeah.
a virtual tie. I didn't feel good about that one. I felt like we were. I think we agreed to just social that one out.
That's fair. Let's do one with.
Freeman and Swift.
We can do Freeman and Swift, or we can do just Swift in general. If you want to do Freeman and Swift, I'm fine with that too.
Well, that's essentially the decision I'm making. I say it's not Freeman. The reason is because I have to play Freeman on Thursday night. So
You have to, or I mean, you
Freeman
don't have to.
Freeman plays on Thursday night, so I don't have time to
I
sit
mean,
on
you
that
can do-
decision or find out what happens with Mark Ingram or whatever, right?
Sure.
So I like the matchup enough, being unsure about what's going to go on with Mark Ingram.
Then I wouldn't do Ingram then, because Ingram's not. Again, should it be Ingram versus
No.
Swift if Kamara doesn't play?
No, I'm going to do Freeman and let's do Freeman and Swift.
Okay, that's fair.
Let's do Freeman and Swift because what I'm saying is, in a normal week, if everybody was playing on Sunday, the decision would be down to Freeman and Swift, right? Those would be the who am I plugging into my last roster spot.
Sure.
But because Freeman plays on Thursday, right? I don't want to have that remorse looking back on Thursday and saying, "Oh shit, I should have done that."
I mean, you've already said it yourself. You're playing Freeman.
Yeah, so
Only
I'm playing
because he's
Freeman
playing
for
Freeman,
sure. So I mean,
yeah.
that's the debate right there, right? That you and I were just mostly having was Freeman and Swift. We weren't debating Ingram and Swift. We were debating
Oh my
Freeman
God.
and Swift. So
Swift is on a 100 total yards every other game, and this is the game that would be his 100 total yard week. Just to throw a more stupid narrative to the wind. To go over 100 total yards.
and Freeman has touchdowns in 3 straight games.
He does. Swift has had 3 touchdowns in his last 4 games, while also seeing no less than 5 targets.
He's actually got 5 touchdowns. No, he doesn't. He's got 3 touchdowns in total over 3 games.
Swift has 5 touchdowns total in the year. Yeah, he didn't get one this past week against Philly. That was also oddly. I mean, Philly beat the living shit out of
No,
that
that's
team.
not Freeman. I don't know. I like the
Either
defensive
way.
matchup more. Freeman versus Swift.
That's
PPR.
fair. It's fair. I mean, it's probably going to be minor enough. I hope both players go off because I also have both players in various dynasty leagues. Anyways, we should probably move on.
What was that last game we were talking about?
Oh, we just covered it.
Was it
Lions
Detroit?
Steelers.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was Lions
wondering how we
Steelers.
ended up here.
All right. Vikings, what could be the fantasy game of the week? We have Minnesota at Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites at home. 53.5 even is the game total. The Chargers have been great this year against the spread at 5-3. They're 2-2 as favorites. So Vikings have been 2-0 as away underdogs this year. Just covered against Baltimore at +7. But in both of those games that they covered, they were over 3 points. And this is, I think, where I lie in is that the Chargers are just a field goal favorite at home. Not having looking great, but they're just coming off of the hyper impressive win against Philadelphia where Herbert looked to have finally made its way back. I like the Chargers at -3 at home, and I love the over. This is probably best, and there's a reason why for it. Both offenses can definitely get rolling. And the Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in football, so Cook should be able to get himself going as well, which is why I'd like the points to be scored. Chargers, -3 at home, and the over.
Vikings are chalk, so I'm just going to skip over that.
Vikings are definitely chalk.
The Chargers, you're looking Herbert for sure, Eckler for sure. Keenan Allen has been a guy we haven't talked about a lot
He's
this
come
year.
on late.
He's coming on as of late as Mike Williams has fallen off a little bit. Keenan Allen's been very good about the last 4 weeks and had a very good first 2 weeks. So, yep, love Keenan Allen in this one. He's having very quietly another very good season, actually, seeing double-digit targets in most games. Actually, through 8 games. Holy crap.
Yeah,
Through 8
just the
games,
one
he's already
random
got-
game against Baltimore.
He's
It's
already
been-
got 82 targets. So he's put up a good season already. He's already got 82 targets. He's on pace for 160, 114 receptions, 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he's having a pretty good season. Mike Williams, a lot of people I think are looking for the bounce back. He has fallen off a lot as of late. The Chargers are still passing. He is still seeing target volume. Just not doing a lot with it. And he's not seeing the same target volume he saw in the first couple weeks. But that's all to say. Yes, I like him this week. This is a game that should be high scoring. Should require both teams to push the pace a little bit. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
I can't believe 5 targets and 2 catches. It's been his receiving line over the last
3 weeks. Exactly.
Exactly 5 targets, 2 catches.
Does
Except
he
he had
do
3
it
red
again?
zone targets against Philly.
Does he do it? Yeah, he had 16 targets against Cleveland. Other than that,
He went 4 games straight without a red zone target. That's insane.
that is insane.
Including 2 touchdowns against Cleveland.
And really, 4 of the last 5 for him have been pretty lackluster. That 16 target game
it
against
really-
Cleveland is the outlier.
I mean, but you look at who he went up against. Slay. Slay's a very good corner. J.C. Jackson is arguably the most underrated corner in the league. And Marlon Humphrey.
Man, in Vegas, he had Damon Arnett.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone off. He's struggled against some of the more elite corners.
He doesn't
Yeah,
have an
the
elite
Vikings-
corner. He does not have an
he's-
elite corner this week.
He
And
doesn't have a high school level corner this week. The Vikings
No.
secondary is hot garbage. So
They
love
are-
Mike Williams.
They are still hot garbage, but so enjoy it this week before he gets Pittsburgh and Denver, where he's got
Yeah.
NFL level corners again.
All right, we got another question. Clap nuts. Great name. He's asking if he should trade Cooks and Swift for Patterson and McLaurin. So it looks like Brandon Cooks and DeAndre Swift for Cordero Patterson and Terry McLaurin. It's
close.
It's close. Washington's offense is kind of fallen off.
That is
while
not a slap nuts trade.
That is not a clap. That is more of a clap on the nuts trade. It is full PPR. I don't know if that does matter more so for Swift, but Patterson's been electric.
very good in full PPR. So one side is Brandon Cooks and DeAndre Swift. The other side is Patterson and
McLaurin.
McLaurin's been a little up and down this year.
Makes sense as Washington's offense has been hot garbage the last few weeks.
I'll look at this for a second.
I kind of like Patterson and McLaurin. I mean, Cooks was great pre-Tyrod injury, and it's not. I mean, even with Tyrod coming back,
The
it was
ceiling
ugly.
for Cooks has gone away a little bit. So I think that's the difference there is the 2 wide receivers. I like McLaurin a lot more than Brandon Cooks.
I mean, McLaurin has had his last 3 games has been double-digit targets.
Just
Problem is, he's got only one of those games has gone over 5 catches.
right, but the target volume's definitely there. You know, Brandon
Air yards are
Cooks
insane. My God.
has seen a bit of that too, but you know, it's been relatively inconsistent. Productivity hasn't quite been there.
Is Fitzpatrick
couple
supposed to
80
miss
yards
the whole
game.
year? He's supposed
No,
to
he's
come
on his way
at some
back.
point.
He saw some improvement. So
Oh,
I think
God,
that
it's
McLaurin
close.
over Cooks is the biggest difference here for me. Patterson has been putting up better numbers and more consistently than Swift though too, and without Ridley there as well, still going to stay involved in the receiving game. So I'm with you, Dan. I think it's Patterson and McLaurin.
Patterson just had 3 carries this past week. I mean, the concern is that he'll fall. I mean, he's been incredible this year, right? And it's hard to just ignore that. Cook's 13 targets in Tyrod's return. So, I mean, Cooks could return. I mean, he had 14, 11, and 7 in those 3 games before. Before Tyrod went down. and it was the Davis Mills show. So, I mean, he's going to go right back to where he was. 6 catches, 56 yards. He had 118, 118 air yards. He just didn't get the touchdown that week. And on a lower volume offense where we expect Washington to maybe score a bit more than Houston, I think it's kind of close, but I still lean Patterson McLaurin. I think it feels like it's almost a side trade for both. But there's clear advantages in both directions. I think I would still prefer Swift over Patterson. I just trust Swift a little bit more. But I think I lean McLaurin over Cooks, and that's where I think I go Patterson.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's close, but I'm going to sit on the Patterson and
all right,
McLaurin side.
That's a great question. Thank you guys for the questions.
Yeah, I like trade questions. It is the season, too.
Tis the season as deadlines are rapidly approaching as playoff teams are starting to come afold. Panthers at the Cardinals. Cardinals are 10.5-point favorites. 44 is the game total. What? Oh, did you know?
No. I heard the double-digit spread, and then I was like, oof. And you're not sure about Murray and Hopkins? That's going to be.
But no Darnold. You're going to get PJ Walker, potentially at some point, Matt Barkley.
Phillip Walker until he starts playing well.
Sorry. Is it Phillip? I thought it was PJ Walker.
He goes by PJ. The P stands for Phillip. Phillip starts with a P.
Sure. I'm still taking the Cardinals. Look, they covered against a far better team, I won't say far better, but a better team in San Francisco. This spread may go up if Murray does, and you may have to get this at 2, 3, 4 points higher. Arizona has covered every game. It's 6-2 this year in their spreads. 3-2 as favorites at home, or 2-2 at home as favorites. Panthers are about the same at 50-50 when it comes to being underdogs, and 4-5 for the seasons. Cardinals has just been the better team against the spread this year. Hopefully Murray is to return, and even when Murray wasn't playing, McCoy was able to get this done with this running game that missed Edmonds for the majority of the game. I will take the Cardinals at home at 10.5, and I'm not betting the game total. Just don't like it. Not until I know that we're going to get Murray back at least.
Yep. We need to say a lot of this game is going to be predicated on Murray and Hopkins.
We can talk about it
so
Sunday.
We're going to need to talk more about this on Sunday. The Panthers right now, I'm pretty sure are going to be chalk. Which chalk right now is McCaffrey and Moore and nothing else.
Is it Moore too, or is it just McCaffrey? I mean, are we excited about Moore?
I'm not excited about Moore, but am I down enough on Moore to where you throw him at the bench, given some of the other lackluster receiving performances? I mean, not really.
He's getting targets,
right?
I get it.
He's getting targets, and the yardage is. I mean, it was bad last week, but the 3 weeks prior has not been terrible. So you don't love it, but you also don't love what Diggs has been doing lately, and you don't. Love some of what you've got.
But we like Buffalo's offense a lot more than Carolina does.
Yeah, so it's just a thing to where I don't know that you want to pull off a DJ Moore just yet. Look, but I think he's still going to be a top 3 a top 36 wide receiver, right? Which makes him startable in most formats. So, yeah,
we'll see what the PJ Walker led offense is Carolina with this situation. His first full game as a starter.
Well, give me their top receiver and nothing else. And CMC. Who's going to be the safety net. On the Cardinals side, Christian Kirk's been very, very good. I don't know how much having or not having Hopkins affects that. It's going to be somebody that I'm comfortable with. It's going to be more, Benjamin, who I'm curious how that affects. James Conner. Been good. This is definitely game scripted towards Connor. Benjamin, I'm probably going to hold off on a little bit because I don't expect this to be a game, even without Murray, this to be a game where there has to be a ton of pass work involved. So, and we'll see on Hopkins because that's going to largely drive how I feel about Kirk.
Yeah.
Rondale Moore is pretty much dead right now.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, it was fun, but it's.
And I don't just mean that because he's concussed.
He's done. He
fell off.
you can confidently cut him in redraft leagues. Seahawks at the Packers. Packers 3.5-point favorites at 49.5 is the game total. Look, the same thing about what we just talked about the Cardinals is kind of the same thing with Packers. I mean, this is the battle for OJ. This is the battle for for Beckham Jr. basically between these two teams. If you believe Rodgers is going to play Sunday, you bet Green Bay right now at 3.5. This is fantastic spread for them. You never ever bet against Rodgers. Green Bay has covered all but one game this year. The only game they didn't cover was the blowout loss that no one expected against the Saints in Week 1. Been fantastic this year. They even covered against the Chiefs as road dogs and still covered that game. I want to talk about it because I bet against them. But again, if Rodgers plays, this is an easy matchup and expect the spread to jump up pretty aggressively if that does happen. Same with the game total. I don't expect it to sit at 49. If you believe Jordan Love's going to play, take the under. If you believe Rodgers is going to play, I probably still take the under as Green Bay is one of the better and most improved defenses this year. Russell Wilson is set to return, so I get the lure of why Seattle is this high in their spread. But right now, I'm still taking Green Bay at home.
Yeah, this is another game that's going to have a lot of Sunday implications. There's a lot here that is predicated by Aaron Rodgers. And, that's not just for the Packers, but that's also for, you're not sitting Adams, obviously.
No.
But that's for the Seahawks as well, right? Because it's going to determine how that game script is going to look for them. And are they going to have to involve Tyler Lockett a ton and DK Metcalf a ton, or is it going to be more of you're kind of on that one and, maybe leaning towards more Chris Carson. If he's cleared to go, there's a lot we don't know. This is going to be more of a check back Sunday. Right now, all I'm confident in is Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones even has been a little iffy this year.
Yeah, it's not been pretty. The rise of A.J. Dillon and this offense being slower paced than he's been, and he's just the one game of touchdowns has kind of just been it.
Yeah, the touchdowns haven't really been there for him either, which was the big fall off. We were kind of waiting for that to happen, to see when that volume tanked, and he's only got one game over 100 yards on the ground. So, couple games over 100 scrimmage yards, but only one over 100 on the ground. So, a little iffy on that one. You drafted him so high, it might be a little hard to sit, but
Yeah.
We'll check in on this one on Sunday, though, when we know if
back
Rodgers is playing or not, and give a little bit more of a rundown as we go through start sits, because that's going to have significant impacts on the game script and not just the Packers.
Eagles at the Broncos. Broncos are 2.5-point favorites at home. 45 even is the game total. Look, both teams they're both pretty much even against the spread this year. Denver is back-to-back wins against the spread over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the big one against Dallas when they were big dogs. As the favorites this year, they are 4-3. Eagles are 3-4 as underdogs this year. Look, the spread in itself, I'm not betting this. I'm not betting any spread this game. The game total at 45 seems exciting enough and low enough to where you can grab onto this. Denver's defense looked impressive even after the Von Miller trade. So I'm staying away from betting either team, and I'm probably not going to bet the total. This is a skip them. I skip them game.
Ugly game. Ugly game. Ugly game. I don't want anything to do with the Eagles in this one, given how good Denver's defense has looked outside of Jalen Hurts. I know Devonta Smith has gotten the volume. He's about the only other one I want to start. Miles Sanders is still out. Boston Scott and Jordan Howard have looked good. It's a tough defensive matchup, and they're eating into each other's work. Stay away. Denver side of this, Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams have both been good. Problem with them is that they're both also eating into each other's work. Very much so. Gordon's been getting the touchdowns. As long as Gordon is getting the touchdowns, he's the one you want to start. Even if Javonte Williams is the more efficient back and putting up higher yardage, 60 yards equals one touchdown, right? So Gordon's getting the touchdowns. He's the one you want. Javonte Williams, until he starts getting touchdowns, is going to be near the bottom of that, back end running back 2 category. What you really need here, I hate to say it, you don't ever want to wish for it, you need an injury for one of them to really crack into super relevant territory.
Yeah. They're both consistently flex options that you don't feel particularly great about.
No, you do not. Trust me. I own them both.
Chiefs at the Raiders.
Hey,
Yeah, what?
there's still wide receivers in Denver.
Oh, God, gee, the pauses. I'm excited.
I'll
Not
kick
really.
it to you. I'll kick it to you when I'm ready. Damn it. Chiefs at the
The receivers. So someone please think about the receivers.
I don't even know why I just did that. Oh, my God.
And neither of them, all 3 of them.
Tim Patrick's hurt, so we don't even know if Tim Patrick's going to play.
Oh, God, that may actually help.
That's
someone.
actually going to help. Cortland Sutton, a little bit of a dud after the return to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy probably gives you the most floor. Actually, I don't expect him to have to throw a ton on this. It's probably just Jerry Jeudy, given how things have gone. Noah Fant's coming back, too. Great. Tight ends suck. Play Noah Fant. Raiders at the Chiefs, or Chiefs at the Raiders, however that's going.
Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. The league still just can't get over the fact that the Chiefs are not very good right now. 52.5 is the game total. Raiders are 3-1 as underdogs. They've been the lone underdog at home. They've won. Chiefs are 2-7. 0-3 over their last 3 games. They've been favored in every game so far. 2-7 as the favorites. Look, until the Chiefs prove us otherwise, you don't bet the Chiefs. If you don't want to bet this game because the spread's low enough, I get it. But I'll take the Raiders plus 2.5. And I'll take the over. This could be a very close. I expect this game to be a bit of a shootout. Obviously, Chiefs have a horrible defense. Raiders, while the loss of Ruggs sucks for their deep threat standpoint, it's just more consolidated work to their better receivers in Renfro, Edwards, Waller, and even Zay Jones, who's getting work. Raiders 2.5 over.
Chiefs are chalk. That includes Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming off of IR. As far as the other side of this goes for the Raiders. Oh, wait, that's actually a Money Badger billboard now, because I have to start Money Badger in a lot of places. I pointed to it for Hunter Renfrow. He's not there anymore. Renfro's dealing with a late in ankle injury, but he's been the wide receiver to possess there, and especially with Henry Ruggs in prison and forgotten about. Renfrow or bust. Darren Waller obviously playing him. You look at the backs in this one, that's where it's really going to get interesting. I think this leans a bit towards Kenyon Drake from a passing standpoint, but not as much as I would have thought in years past with the Chiefs not playing well. So I think that they're both flex options as far as Drake and Jacobs go. I don't really lean heavily towards one or the other here. Jacobs a little bit more, but I think that they're kind of both running back to flexible type people.
I changed my stance. It's the Chiefs under. Chiefs last 4 games have all gone under. Last 3 point totals for the Chiefs, 13, 20, and 3. Not good. Yes, to put against Green Bay. This is also in the game against Titans and the Giants. No.
Kenyon Drake, 80 or more scrimmage yards the last 2 weeks. He didn't get a ton of work on the ground, but he did get.
Yeah, I feel a lot more confident
Even
about Drake
work last
over,
week. A little bit more
over
confident
Jones.
with
Yeah.
Drake. 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. As far as Jacobs goes, since coming back from coming back from injury, just 1 game over 55 yards. He does have 3 touchdowns, however, so he's getting some of that goal line work, which could certainly play in your favor as well. Jacobs more likely to get the touchdown. Drake more likely to be heavily involved.
Last game, Monday Night Football, Rams at the 49ers. Rams are 4-point favorites. 49 is the game total. This might be one of the more chalk bets of the week. I don't know how the Rams are just -4. I know they've been a bit disappointing at times. They're 0-3 against the spread.
49ers are poster
games.
childs of disappointment. So
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Niners are also bad against the spread, just 2-6 this year so far. 0-4 as home team and 0-1 as underdogs at home, 1-1. The fact that the Rams, these favorites include 7-point favorite and then 2 back-to-back 16.5s. They get a very favorable spread on the road at 4. This is an easy smash Rams game, and hopefully it's a bounce back from the disappointment that they just faced against Tennessee. Again, game total I'm not in love with. Garoppolo's been playing better. Niners have kind of found what they've liked, and all their players have, for some reason, have finally been back at full health. But I'll take the Rams at 4. Going to stay away from the game total. Expect this line to change. It's very early for this Monday night game. Expect this line to change a bit as we keep getting news throughout the week.
Yep, very early for the Monday night game. This is one where, look, the 49ers have the ability to push a little bit of pace. We talked about them earlier in the show. I think you can start all 3 skill position players in this one. I really do. Deebo Samuel's obviously the guy that I want to start most, but it's another game where they figured to be playing from behind. Elijah Mitchell kind of falls into that flex running back type area. But the 3 skill positions for the 49ers, I think you can absolutely play with. And Jimmy Garoppolo, much like Derek Carr in the last game, they're both viable streaming options this week. The flip side of this, you got the Rams. They're going to bounce back. I'm not worried about what happened with them against Tennessee, and I'm definitely not necessarily worried about it against the 49ers. Nick Bosa might get his a little bit, but other than that, I expect the Rams to have a good, solid bounce-back game. You're good with Woods. You're good with Kupp. You're fine with Stafford. Higbee, as far as tight ends go, it's run them out for them. Henderson.
And easily.
That's it. That's the second most fun game for fantasy behind Vikings, Chargers.
I agree. It might be Seahawks Packers if Rodgers plays.
If Rodgers plays, that's going to be a good one too. You're going to have 3 decent games. So.
Yeah. But won't be fun. Lions Steelers.
No, that game's going to be miserable. If there are games of the week, that is like my anti-game of the week is going to be the Lions.
That is the anti-game. I mean, fucking Philly and Denver might.
Philly, Denver's up there for bad too.
I think it's gross.
Yeah, that one's going to be pretty gross. There's some that I think are going to be lopsided as well. One side or the other, but that's the definition of lopsided. But there's 2 pretty gross ones. Kansas City, Vegas could be sneaky.
God, I hope it is, man. The Chiefs need a bounce back game more than any team in the NFL right now. They need a bounce back offensive game. Yeah. Even if they lose, they just need to look competent on offense again. My God.
Yep, they've been bad.
20 points, the most they've scored in a single game the last 3 weeks, and they only put up 27 against the Eagles 4 weeks ago. It hasn't been since Washington. They put up over 40 points in a game. I'm sorry, they put up reverse it. They put up 31 against Washington. They put up 42 against Philly. That was back in the beginning of October. Chiefs does not look particularly good, but no one's shocked by that. That's it. That's it. We're done. You can clearly tell that we both have been drinking high proof alcohol. Obviously, you more than me.
Wait, hold on. Denver has wide receivers.
That's it. We're done. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the questions.